Now, I know I like to embellish a little bit and possibly exaggerate from time to time. I'm sure we've all learned that, but I have to say, this to me is a bigger move than any sort of Trey Hendrickson deal we could have heard of this offseason. The Cincinnati Bengals have announced they will be adding 3 members to their scouting department, 2 scouts and 1 scouting analyst. And that is huge. We have talked so much, and it's well documented how small the Cincinnati Bengals scouting department it is. It's well documented how many times they have swung and missed in the first round of drafts, how their drafts have really been crippling this team. If it wasn't for slam dunk picks and a couple hits here and there, I mean, they're struggling. They've been forced to build through free agency. And you don't win you don't win championships that way. You build through the draft, you add through free agency and holds positions of need. But when your positions of need is 6 different positions, you got a problem. So the Bengals adding to this scouting department huge. Now they will lose 1. They're going to lose Sarkisian. He's going to go be a Northwestern GM, but they're going to gain 3. They're going to gain Tyler Ramsey. I like this one. Tyler Ramsey spent 9 of his 12 years with the Seattle Seahawks. And not just the Seattle Seahawks, but the Legion of Boom, Pete Carroll and company. That is some company you want to be a part of. At the very least, he was in that locker room. He was in that film room, seeing what they were seeing. Love to see that addition. Hoping. I'm just kidding. Okay, now we're really doing it. We're really over exaggerating if we think we're gonna get. It could happen. It could happen. Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman. I could see it. I could see that being the future. No, I couldn't. We could hope. Could you imagine a Legion of Boom style defense with Joe Burrow under center? The Bengals will win the next 3 Super Bowls. How fun would that be? How fun would that? And that's why the draft is so important, though. They didn't go out and get these guys in free agency. They drafted that defense. Then they couldn't afford it anymore because how good it was. That's how important the draft is, though. That's how important scouting is. And that's why I hope that this is there's something that you look at the Bengals front office saying, hey, we're changing our ways. And this was number 1 on the list. They was always signing their stars. Minus Jesse Bates. They was always signing their stars. Was they hard-headed about it? Absolutely. Did they get the job done? No? Yeah. The problem was they just refused to, for whatever reason, work on these other inner workings that create good football teams like your scouting department. So this is big. Hopefully they keep adding. If not, at the very end of the day, you bring in Josh Hinch, another scout. Spent some time over in Carolina of late. Then you add in the young buck, Trey Lapani, 25 years young, was the Buffalo intern in the analytics department last season. And now he comes over here, takes on a bigger role with the Bengals this season. You bring in that young mind, and again, every sport, we're seeing how much data analytics are taking over. And the Bengals kind of was never really bringing in a guy to specifically cover that department for a while. Kind of stubborn about it, having the same guy, in charge of other things, also be in charge of the data analytics department, which, hey, that's okay. I get it. Good for him being able to take on that role. We praise him. But the more tasks you put on one person's plate, the less they can dive deep into this area or into this area or into this area. And he's got to balance his time out. So to be able to take some of that pressure off the shoulders of some of the scouts with already heavy workloads for the Bengals, be able to spread that out, that's huge. Gives guys just that much more time to hone in a guy they like, dive into some analytics, dive into some data they may have not had the time to do before because they just had a kind of quick breeze over everything and then say, hey, here's Shamar Stewart. They didn't get the time to learn about some of the personal traits. Maybe, didn't get the time to work about just little things that you don't always have as much time to notice the hone over when you just have a smaller team. That's just how it's going to be. And that's why most of the league has these ginormous scouting departments compared to the Cincinnati Bengals. So I love this, especially after all the controversy, all the talk about the Bengals passing up on this guy drafting this guy, even just this year. Kind of taking note of that, saying, hey, we got to change things up a little bit, especially the way things been going. Maybe this year's draft turns out to be stellar, and I hope it is. But we want to have stellar draft after stellar draft after stellar draft. And one thing the Bengals and we have proven as an organization is you can't consistently do that with this depleted of a scouting department. So we'll see what happens. Again, love the additions. Bengals still making moves, trending in the right direction overall. I think. Love the all-star. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.